I thought marrying the love of my life would be a fairy tale. Instead, his mother made me crawl on my knees in front of 200 guests, called my parents sewer rats, and threw us out like garbage. 2 years later, I walked back into her life as a billionaire's wife and destroyed her. This is a story about love, betrayal, and the sweetest revenge you'll ever hear. If you love dramatic comebacks and seeing bullies get what they deserve, you need to stay till the end. Hit that subscribe button right now because you won't believe how this unfolds. My name is Zoe, and I need to tell you about the day that destroyed me and the revenge that rebuilt me into someone completely different. But to understand how sweet my revenge was, you need to know how deep my pain went. It all started 5 years ago when I was working at a small coffee shop downtown. I was 23, fresh out of college with a degree that wasn't getting me anywhere, making minimum wage and living in a tiny apartment with 2 roommates. I wasn't special, I wasn't rich. I was just a regular girl trying to make ends meet. That's when Elijah walked into my life. He was different from the usual customers. Well-dressed but not arrogant about it. Polite in a genuine way that you don't see much anymore. He started coming in every morning, always ordering the same thing, black coffee and a blueberry muffin. We'd chat while I made his order, and those 5-minute conversations became the highlight of my day. He made me laugh. He asked about my dreams, my family, my life. He actually listened when I talked. After 3 months of this daily routine, he finally asked me out, and I said yes without hesitation. Our first date turned into a second, then a third, and before I knew it, we'd been together for 6 months. That's when he told me the truth about his background. His family was wealthy, not just comfortable, truly wealthy. His mother, Penelope, owned multiple businesses and properties across the city. Elijah had been keeping this from me because he wanted to make sure I liked him for who he was, not what he had. I understood that, and honestly, it didn't matter to me. I'd already fallen in love with him, not his bank account. For 2 years, we built something beautiful together. Elijah was kind, thoughtful, and genuinely good. He treated me like I was precious, like I mattered. My parents adored him. My dad, who drove a taxi for 30 years, would joke that Elijah was too good for me. My mom, who worked as a seamstress from our small home, would smile and say I deserved happiness. Those were the best 2 years of my life. I actually believed in happy endings. Then Elijah proposed, and everything changed. He took me to our favorite spot by the lake, got down on one knee, and asked me to be his wife. I said yes, through tears of joy, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. But when Elijah told his mother about our engagement, the fairy tale shattered. Penelope exploded. She refused to meet me, refused to acknowledge the engagement, and demanded Elijah end things immediately. Her words, which Elijah reluctantly shared with me, cut deep. "You will not marry beneath our class. That coffee shop girl and her garbage family will ruin everything we've built. I will not allow it." Elijah fought for us. God, he really did fight in the beginning. For 6 months, he stood up to his mother, begging her to give me a chance, to see what he saw in me. Penelope made his life hell in return. She cut off his credit cards, threatened to remove him from the family business, reminded him constantly that everything, the house, the cars, the money, was all in her name. She could take it all away with a single signature, but Elijah kept fighting, kept refusing to give me up, and I loved him even more for it. Then one day, Penelope called him to her mansion. Elijah came back different. He was smiling, but there was something in his eyes I couldn't quite read. "She agreed," he said, pulling me into his arms. "Mom said we can get married. She's going to plan everything, give us the wedding of our dreams." I should have questioned it. I should have wondered why a woman who hated me for 6 months suddenly changed her mind. But I was young and in love and stupid, so I just felt relieved. The wedding planning started immediately, and Penelope took control of everything. She chose the venue, the most expensive luxury hotel in the city. She created the guest list, 300 people, all from her social circle, wealthy elite types I'd never met. She picked the decorations, the flowers, the menu. Every time I suggested something, she'd smile coldly and say, "Dear, let me handle this. You wouldn't understand how things are done in our world." I felt uncomfortable, but Elijah kept assuring me his mother was finally coming around, finally accepting me. I wanted so badly to believe him. My parents were nervous about the whole thing. The wedding was so far beyond anything we could afford, so completely out of our league. My dad's hands shook when he tried on the suit we rented for him. It was the nicest thing he'd ever worn, and even then, I knew it wouldn't compare to what Penelope's friends would be wearing. My mom kept asking if we could just have a small ceremony instead, something simple and intimate. But I told her everything would be fine. I told her Penelope was giving us this wedding as a peace offering, as her way of welcoming me into the family. I believed my own lies. The morning of the wedding, I woke up in a cheap hotel room with my mother. We couldn't afford to stay at the luxury venue where the ceremony was happening, so we'd booked a place 10 minutes away. Mom's hands trembled as she helped me into my white wedding dress. It wasn't designer, wasn't expensive, but it was beautiful to me. My dad stood in the corner in his rented suit, looking more terrified than proud. "Zoe, Beta," he said quietly. "Are you sure about this? These people, they're not like us." I kissed his cheek and told him not to worry. Today was my happy day. Today I was marrying the man I loved. Nothing else mattered. We arrived at the venue an hour before the ceremony, and my breath caught in my throat. It was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, golden decorations, flowers everywhere. 300 guests were already mingling in the main hall, all of them dripping in diamonds and designer clothes. My parents looked around with wide eyes, completely overwhelmed. A few of Penelope's friends glanced our way, their eyes scanning my parents' modest clothing with barely concealed disdain. I felt my dad shrink beside me, and my heart broke a little. Penelope greeted us at the entrance with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She was wearing an expensive blue gown that probably cost more than my parents' annual income. "Welcome," she said, her voice honey-sweet and venomous at once. "Welcome to our world. Do try not to touch anything." My mother's face flushed with embarrassment, and I squeezed her hand, whispering that we should just ignore Penelope. 30 minutes before the ceremony, Penelope entered the bridal preparation room where I was waiting. Her assistant followed, and I heard the door lock behind them. "We need to discuss something important," Penelope said, pulling out a folder. "A family tradition." She explained that in her family, brides had to demonstrate humility and respect before joining the family. My stomach twisted as I listened, sensing where this was going. Then she said it. "You will crawl down the aisle on your hands and knees." I actually laughed. It was so absurd, so cruel that I thought she had to be joking. But Penelope's face was ice cold, completely serious. "I will not do that," I said firmly. "That's insane." Penelope's smile was terrifying. "Then there will be no wedding. I'll announce to all 300 guests that you ran away. Imagine the embarrassment for your poor parents after they traveled so far." I called Elijah frantically. He rushed to his mother's side, and I waited for him to defend me, to tell his mother this was crossing a line. Instead, I watched him crumble. Penelope cornered him right there in front of me. "Choose now, Elijah. The business, the properties, your entire future, or this girl. Defy me and I'll throw you out with nothing. You'll be on the streets by tonight." Elijah's face went pale. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. He looked at me with guilty eyes, and I saw the exact moment he chose his inheritance over me. Penelope turned back to me with a victorious smile. "The guests are waiting, dear. Decide now." I thought about my parents sitting out there so proud despite their fear. They'd spent money they didn't have on travel, on clothes, on being here. My relatives had come from far away. Everyone was waiting. If I ran now, my parents would be humiliated. If I went through with Penelope's sick demand, at least afterward I'd be married to Elijah, and this nightmare would be over. That's what I told myself as I made the worst decision of my life. "Fine," I whispered. "I'll do it." The music started. The doors opened. 300 guests turned to look, and I dropped to my knees in my white wedding dress and started crawling. The carpet was rough beneath my palms. I heard gasps ripple through the crowd. Phones came out, people started recording. The aisle felt endless. My knees scraped against the floor with each movement forward. Tears blurred my vision, but I kept crawling because what else could I do? I'd already made the choice. There was no going back now. Halfway down that aisle, Penelope's voice boomed through the microphone. "Everyone, witness the humility of this poor girl. She knows her place, crawling to join our superior family." Some people gasped in horror, but others laughed. I heard them laughing at me. My tears fell onto the expensive carpet, my body shaking with humiliation. But I kept moving forward because I thought there was a wedding waiting at the end of this nightmare. Then Penelope grabbed the microphone again, and her next words destroyed me completely. "And let's acknowledge her wonderful parents, a taxi driver and a seamstress. How charming. You people are like rats from a dirty sewer. You trapped my innocent son with your daughter's cheap tricks." The spotlight swung to my parents, and I heard my mother's sob echo through the hall. I twisted around to see my father holding my mother as she collapsed in her chair. Penelope's friends were laughing louder now, enjoying the show. Videos were being recorded from every angle. This wasn't a wedding. This was a planned execution of my dignity. I reached the altar finally, my knees bleeding through the fabric of my dress. Elijah tried to help me up, but Penelope slapped his hand away. "Don't touch her yet," she commanded. She made me kneel there for 2 more minutes while she addressed the crowd, making more jokes about my family, about my background, about how I'd tried to social climb my way into their world. The room spun around me. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. Then Penelope smiled down at me and said the words that shattered my world. "Actually, I've changed my mind. This girl isn't worthy of my son after all. Security, remove these sewer rats from my event." I couldn't process what was happening. There was no wedding. This entire thing was just to humiliate me. Elijah stood frozen as security guards grabbed my arms. My parents were being dragged from their seats. "Elijah!" I screamed. "Do something! Say something!" But he just stood there, silent, as his mother's security threw us out. We were dumped on the street outside the hotel. Me in my destroyed wedding dress, dirt and blood on my knees. My father tried to hold us both while my mother sobbed uncontrollably. People on the street stopped to stare. Some recognized me from the videos that were already going viral online. They laughed, pointed, took more pictures. "The crawling bride," someone called me. That night, as we rode home in my father's taxi, my mother kept saying, "I'm sorry, Beta. This is our fault. We're not good enough." And I had no words to comfort her because I believed it too. I believed we weren't good enough. I believed we deserved what happened. The next 6 months were the darkest of my life. The videos of me crawling went everywhere. Social media, news sites, gossip blogs. I became a viral meme. The crawling bride. People made jokes, created parodies, used my humiliation for entertainment. I lost my job at the coffee shop because customers would come in just to mock me. I couldn't find work anywhere else. Nobody wanted to hire the girl everyone was laughing at. I fell into a depression so deep, I barely left my bed. My parents blamed themselves. Their health deteriorated from stress, and I felt like I'd destroyed their lives along with my own. Then my father had a heart attack. We rushed him to the hospital, and the doctors saved his life, but the bills were crushing. We had nothing. We couldn't pay. I stood outside that hospital in the rain, completely broken, and something inside me snapped. I was done being a victim. I was done letting Penelope win. She'd taken everything from me, my dignity, my reputation, my future, but she hadn't taken my will to survive. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would rise. I would become someone, and I would make her pay. I worked 3 jobs simultaneously. I took online business courses at night, barely sleeping, pushing my body to its limits. I saved every penny I earned. I started a small online business from my tiny room, selling handmade products I created with my mother. It failed. I tried again with a different idea. Failed again. But I kept going because the pain of that wedding day fueled me. Every rejection, every failure just made me work harder. After a year of grinding, one of my business ideas caught the attention of an investor. His name was Nathan Pierce, a 35-year-old billionaire entrepreneur who'd built his empire from nothing. He saw potential in my business model and, more importantly, he saw the fire in me. He offered to mentor me and invest in my company. Nathan never judged me for my viral humiliation. He never treated me as less than. He pushed me to be better, to think bigger, to believe I deserved success. Within 1 year, my company exploded. We went from thousands to millions in revenue. I was 26 years old and suddenly wealthy beyond anything I'd imagined. Working closely with Nathan, something unexpected happened. We fell in love. Not the naive, innocent love I'd had with Elijah. This was different, built on respect, on equality, on genuine partnership. Nathan saw me as his equal, as someone strong and capable. He never made me feel small. When he proposed after a year, I said yes, and we had a quiet, intimate wedding ceremony with just our closest friends and family. No spectacle, no humiliation, just genuine love and respect. I became Mrs. Nathan Pierce, wife of one of the richest men in the country. But I hadn't forgotten. I would never forget. I hired private investigators to dig into Penelope's life. What they found was beautiful. Her business empire was crumbling. She'd been committing fraud for years, embezzling from her own charity, hiding debts from investors. She was drowning, though the public didn't know it yet. And her annual charity gala was coming up, the biggest social event of the year, where she played queen in front of 400 elite guests. That's when I knew. That's when I'd strike. Nathan and I received a VIP invitation to the gala. Penelope had no idea who Mrs. Nathan Pierce was. I spent weeks planning every detail of my revenge. I bought all the evidence of her fraud from my investigators. I contacted major news outlets and promised them the story of the decade. I arranged for the event to be live-streamed. Everything was ready. The night of the gala, I dressed in a stunning golden gown that cost more than my parents' house. Diamonds dripped from my neck and ears, real ones, gifts from Nathan. As we arrived at the venue, I felt power coursing through me. This wasn't the scared girl who'd crawled 2 years ago. This was someone new, someone unbreakable. The announcement came, Mr. and Mrs. Nathan Pierce. We entered, and I watched Penelope's wine glass slip from her hand and shatter on the marble floor. Her face went white as a sheet. Elijah stood beside her, older-looking and miserable, and his jaw dropped when he saw me. The entire room began whispering. They recognized me from the videos, and now here I was, a billionaire's wife, dripping in wealth and confidence. I walked straight toward Penelope with a calm smile. "Hello, Penelope. Long time no see." She was stammering, unable to form words. What are you doing here?" Her voice shook. "I'm a VIP guest," I replied smoothly. "Surprised?" Elijah stared at me with shame written all over his face, but I didn't even acknowledge him. He was nothing to me now. Nathan's hand rested protectively on my back as Penelope tried to compose herself in front of her guests. I approached the event organizer and sweetly asked to make a special announcement. Penelope panicked. "Security! Remove her!" she shrieked. But Nathan's voice cut through the room, cold and powerful. "Touch my wife and you'll face a lawsuit that will destroy you." 3 of his lawyers appeared from the crowd, making it clear he wasn't bluffing. Penelope was trapped, and she knew it. I took the stage with the microphone, my heart pounding but my voice steady. "Good evening, everyone. Some of you may recognize me." Behind me, the projector screen lit up with the video, me crawling down the aisle in my wedding dress 2 years ago. Gasps filled the ballroom. Penelope screamed, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" But nobody moved. They were all watching in horror as the video played, showing every moment of my humiliation, every cruel word Penelope had spoken. 2 years ago, I said calmly, this woman forced me to crawl like an animal in front of 200 people. She called my parents sewer rats. She destroyed my life for her entertainment. Audio recordings played. Penelope's voice crystal clear, saying all those vicious things. Many guests were crying now, hands over their mouths in shock. "But that's not why I'm here tonight," I continued. The screen changed to show financial documents, bank statements, fake receipts, offshore accounts. Penelope's charity, the one you've all donated millions to, she's been stealing from it for years. Money meant for sick children, gone, pocketed by this woman who stands here pretending to be charitable. The evidence was damning, undeniable. Police officers entered the venue on cue, walking straight toward Penelope. Elijah rushed toward me desperately. "Zoe, please, I'm sorry. I was weak. I was scared." I looked at him with cold eyes. "You stood there and watched them drag me out like garbage. You chose money over love. You're just as guilty as your mother." Nathan stepped between us. "She's done talking to you." Elijah broke down crying right there in front of everyone, but I felt nothing for him. Penelope was handcuffed, screaming about setups and innocence, but I had 5 witnesses and a forensic accountant ready to testify. Her former friends, the same people who'd laughed at me 2 years ago, were now turning their backs on her. News cameras captured everything. Penelope was dragged out in handcuffs, her blue gown trailing behind her, her carefully constructed reputation destroyed in minutes. I addressed the silent crowd one last time. To everyone who laughed at me that day, who recorded my humiliation, who made me a viral joke, look at me now. I rose from your cruelty stronger than ever, and the woman who destroyed me, she'll rot in prison. Half the room gave me a standing ovation. 3 months later, Penelope was sentenced to 8 years in prison for fraud. She lost everything: the mansion, the businesses, her reputation. Elijah lost his entire inheritance due to his mother's crimes. Last I heard, he works a regular office job now, alone and carrying his guilt like a weight he'll never put down. He never married. How could he, when everyone knows what he did? As for me, my business empire keeps growing. Nathan and I are happily married, expecting our first child. My parents live in a beautiful home I bought them, and my father's health is fully recovered. My mother spends her days gardening instead of sewing for money, finally peaceful. I started a foundation for victims of family abuse and give talks about standing up to bullies. Those viral videos of me crawling, I bought the rights to them. Now I use them in my presentations to teach others about resilience, about rising from rock bottom. Sometimes I visit my parents and look at old photos from that horrible day. That broken girl crawling in a wedding dress, I tell them. She's dead. I killed her myself, and from her ashes, I rose as someone nobody can ever break again. They made me crawl, thinking I would never stand again. They called me worthless, thinking I'd believe them. They destroyed me, thinking I'd stay destroyed. But here's what bullies never understand. When you take everything from someone, you give them nothing left to lose. And someone with nothing to lose, they become absolutely dangerous. Penelope wanted to humiliate me in front of 200 people, so I destroyed her in front of the entire world. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button right now. Have you ever gotten revenge on someone who wronged you? Share your story in the comments. I want to hear it. And listen, if you or someone you know is being abused by family or in-laws, please reach out for help. You deserve respect and dignity. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because I share powerful comeback stories every week. Remember, your pain today is your power tomorrow. Never let anyone make you crawl. See you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to this story until the end. Hopefully every moment, every detail in the story has brought you emotions, thoughts, and maybe a little joy or motivation. Thank you for spending time with us, and hope that the next stories will continue to accompany you and touch your heart.